We have some breaking news after weeks of silence from the reporters and Giannis himself. Brian Windhorst has come out and dropped a bombshell report surrounding Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future in Milwaukee. And not only that, Giannis himself has spoken out for the first time and revealed the truth on his future with this team. And this has fans absolutely fired up. You're going to stay tuned to the very end of the video. But before you do it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. Your guys' support, it's been unbelievable. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. So if you want to help us towards that goal, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But folks, this is what we've all been waiting for, an update. We still haven't got an update from Shams, but we have an update from Brian Windhorst surrounding Giannis and his future. But again, Giannis spoke out himself as well, and for the first time, we can all take a deep breath, at least for the time being. Things can change, of course, but it seems as if, according to Brian Windhorst here, you can see here that he's going to be staying. It says right now there is no Giannis Antetokounmpo trade market. There is no Giannis Antetokounmpo trade discussions. He has not asked for it. The Bucks are not looking to trade him. So, of course, we all know things can change very quickly in the NBA, and there still is a very good chance that, things could change here. But it seems, again, I've been covering the channel a lot over the past week or two. Reports slowly started to trickle in from some reliable sources, some less reliable sources about Giannis Antetokounmpo staying in Milwaukee, and that the Bucks don't have a clear-cut plan to make him available for trade, and that he necessarily doesn't want to trade either. And of course, this dates back to the Shams report right after the season ended. Shams never said himself that he was going to, request a trade or that he wanted a trade necessarily. However, there were some rumblings about how for the first time ever he was going to be open to a trade. Brian Windhorst comes out and basically, as of right now, shuts down the idea and the notion that Giannis has requested a trade. That hasn't happened, and that John Horst in the front office is willing to trade him. Again, he has not asked for a trade, and the Bucks are not looking to trade him. So, at least for the time being, it seems that no trade is going to be in the immediate future. And I'll dive into later in this video what that means for the team going forward, because even though this is positive news, the Bucks still aren't in a very good spot whatsoever, especially with Dame out most of the year. But we also have some other things. Now, I'll dive back into this in a minute here. But we also had come out earlier this morning from, I believe, a French outlet. I'll double check it here in a minute. Giannis Antetokounmpo has confirmed his plans to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. In a recent interview with Eurosports Hoops, Giannis expressed how he hopes to get back to the NBA Finals soon, specifically with the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is here to stay. So this was, of course, prior to the Brian Windhorst report about, a few minutes ago here, about an hour ago. This was the bigger report of this morning, and people were starting to say, okay, why haven't none of the major outlets talked about it? And again, Giannis didn't necessarily, confirm he was staying, but he did. He knows what he's doing. He's a very smart man. And of course, Brian Windhorst, he also heard the rumblings and wanted, I guess, to clear things up a little bit, but he also didn't directly, discuss this part of the report that came out. But in case you were wondering, the exact quote was, see here, Giannis speaks about his future with the Bucks, confirming that his future is in Milwaukee. The quote was, "The finals are different. I hope to be back soon with the Milwaukee Bucks." And again, this is from a pretty reliable outlet here, EuroHoopsNet, and this is very good news. Now, of course, there was a lot of conversation about how the Bucks, were going to fall apart and how they were going to trade Giannis, and a lot of the focus has been on what this team will look like without Giannis, what trade packages can get back. I mean, most Bucks fans expected, I think, Giannis to stay, even though there was a lot of rumblings, and for the first time, a Shams tweet surrounding it. I think most Bucks fans just kind of presumed that he was going to stay simply because he's never shown any indication publicly or really behind the scenes either that he wants to get out of Milwaukee. And of course, there was a little bit of, not animosity this year necessarily, but this is not the way they wanted to go out, right? You have a devastating, you give up all your future assets, or a lot of them, for Damian Lillard, and then he comes out and you have 2 years and you don't really do anything with it. Of course, they won a championship a few years ago, and this was the year the East was wide open. The team that beat the Bucks in the first round right now are in the NBA Finals, tied with the Oklahoma City Thunder at 1-1. So, it makes sense if you want to try to convince yourself to run it back. But I don't necessarily think that the Bucks have a clear-cut path to become championship contenders. But I'm not sure many Bucks fans care necessarily. There was a decade plus of mediocrity without a real superstar player. There was a few guys, sprinkled in there for the last decade. Potential of Brandon Jennings, Monte Ellis, all these different guys. There was really no superstar on this team. Besides, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And since then, he has been. He is the greatest Buck of all time. And you think about it now, he wants to stay in Milwaukee. And that report was 5 hours ago from one of the biggest news outlets in Europe. Meanwhile, silence from ESPN, Shams, and the rest of the mainstream media here in the U.S. Why? Because the bosses asked for a different agenda. Absolutely laughable and antithesis of actual journalism. Now, I'm not going to necessarily fully agree with this because clearly, Brian Windhorst came out about an hour after that. I guess, either that's the case. There is some bias, of course, with the media. They want Giannis out of Milwaukee, small market, all these different things. You can, push that propaganda, but at the same time, Brian Windhorst came out about an hour after and confirmed at least what he's hearing from his side. And of course, they all have to do their due diligence with sources and all these different things. But he confirmed it from his side that right now there are no trade discussions, which lines up with what Giannis said himself about not wanting a trade. Does that mean a trade is definitely not going to happen? No, it doesn't. I mean, obviously, we're still unsure at this juncture, at this moment. Shams hasn't confirmed whether or not they've had their meeting yet, Giannis in the front office. I would assume they did, but at the same time, there hasn't been any sort of communication between or public, reporting between, the reporters and the Bucks front office, which usually leaks that they had that meeting. But maybe this is the report that they've had that meeting and then they just kind of, wanted to make it public in this way. And he wanted to make it public through an interview because he knows what this is going to do, right? Saying he wants to be, I hope to be back soon with the Bucks. And of course, talking about the NBA Finals, it's going to be a long road back, but at the same time, building around Giannis is the right thing to do. The problem is they don't have a ton of assets to do it, but Bucks fans have been waiting to hear this for a very long time. Now, again, I do want to clarify that this could still change. Things definitely change in the NBA very fast. If they get a Godfather offer, if Giannis changes his mind, or if something like that happens, things can definitely change quickly. But for now, Giannis is going to be staying with the Bucks, and just an absolutely massive, massive report there. And there's an article I dropped, giving some interesting insights surrounding both the interview that he had and some other reports. And you can see here, Giannis' ultimate goal remains clear: to secure another championship in Milwaukee. His belief in the team's potential to build a winning roster around him underscores his confidence in the Bucks management. Of course, we know how good he was. And, the Bucks faced significant challenges last season. If you want to try to convince yourself again that this team could, make a push, again, it's without Damian Lillard. They lost Damian Lillard for the last couple games. But regardless of that, Indiana's in the NBA Finals right now. And there was, of course, Dame was out for a lot of the season as well with his blood clot issue, and then he returned to the playoffs, and then got, of course, his Achilles injury in Game 4. He's going to be out majority of the upcoming season. The Bucks are going to have a lot of work to do here. You look at this starting lineup, and a lot of these guys could be gone, like Gary Trent Jr., Brook Lopez. They're probably going to bring back Gary Trent Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. I'll have a video coming on that later today, but at the same time, this lineup right here, is it competitive in the East? It's probably competitive for a playoff spot, probably 5 or 6 seed, just because Giannis has that ability. But beyond that, they have a lot of work to do now, and they're pretty weak in the draft picks department. They're pretty weak in the prospects department. They don't have a lot to work with here, which is why trading Giannis, I wasn't necessarily against it if they think it's the best thing for the team. But if Giannis doesn't want to trade, obviously you're never going to force trade him out of Milwaukee. It just doesn't. You can't do that with your first homegrown superstar to this level, at least ever in the franchise's history. So the team is going to be an interesting one. They have a lot of work to do now, and assuming this report is true, of course we'll hear more reports in the future, we need to pivot now, the Bucks that is, to role players. I made a video on DeAnthony Melton yesterday. Matisse Thybulle, they need to add guys to fit around Giannis. Giannis is capable of taking a team to the championship, but they're going to need better pieces around him, and it's going to be interesting to see what John Horst does with that. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. A lot of new reports coming out, and finally, we got a major report surrounding Giannis's future, and it's a good one. Let me know down below what your thoughts are.